Welcome back to episode 6 of the Cody Cottle Show, helping you guys step into your God-given purpose. Pumped because I got a buddy of mine on the show, and we're going to talk about some guy stuff today. Guys, get ready. Ladies, get ready to do your R&D. My guest today, he's a stud for one, but he's somebody that has an interesting story. You know, you were born with sideways feet. You've had health issues your entire life that you had to struggle with, and out of all of that adversity, and I love this, right? Like God uses adversity for the call that he has on our life. You launched one of the most transformational companies for men in their health and so much more, called Wealthy Body. Welcome, Justin Feldman.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I just want to first and foremost honor you, man. I'm huge on honor, and I really love what you're doing. And I'm pumped to be here, man, because I do have, like you said, I have a powerful message, and I feel really called to share it. And I think that there's some crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and I think that it's really important for us men, and just I work with men, that's why I say men a lot, but ladies that are listening as well, really important to just start stepping into ourselves. And I'll kind of explain what that means in a second, but really step into our health and just take back control of who we are.
Come on, so good. Well, I'm going to throw you off guard with the first question. What do you value most in life?
So it's an interesting answer. That what came up for me is usually I would say health, right? Because health is obviously, and that's what I teach, what I preach. It's important. I think for me right now, it's stillness. And what I mean by stillness is the ability to actually go inwards and find peace. I think that would be my number one value, because I think for me personally, I can kind of get into my story, but I grew up with a lot of health issues, a lot of insecurities, a lot of physical insecurities, a lot of stories I would share in my head. And I think for me, and I see this in a lot of men I work with, if we don't have stillness inside and peace inside of us, it just manifests in the outer world, in our physical body, in our relationships, in our business. So I'd say for me, my number one value is being able to, and this is it's a constant ebbs and flow and struggle, but like being able to actually go inwards and be cool with just being in me, being cool with being inside and having stillness and being in peace, being with God, being with myself, and not having to go and need anything else. I would say that would be my number one core value. I can go deeper into that, but I would say that.
No, that was gold, man.
Yeah.
And not the answer that I expected, even though I know you pretty well. I think a lot of people struggle with stillness. I know I struggle with stillness, right? And it's a constant pursuit in this busy world where we look at our phone and we get a dopamine hit every couple of seconds. We watch a TV, serotonin, dopamine, video games, like all these things in the world are consuming our brain. Life's gotten so busy, so full, that often we don't take time to connect with ourselves. So I think that that's powerful. And you know what I'd like to do is tell us your story briefly, because I want to go deeper into stillness. So tell us a story of how you got to where you're at, quick snapshot, and then let's dive in. How does someone achieve stillness in their life? Then let's talk about some man shit.
Let's do it. Let's freaking go. So quick story for me, I was born with sideways feet. So if the camera can see, my feet were sideways when I was born. They had to cut my tibial tendon, and then I wore casts when I was a baby, and they would slowly rotate them back into place. And so I'm a big believer that God puts us on this planet for a reason, for a purpose.
Come on.
And my purpose, fortunately, and some would say unfortunately, was to suffer with a lot of health issues. So growing up, I had, like I said, I had bilateral club feet when I was born. I had multiple kidney stones, appendicitis. I had a severe back issue where I wore a metal back brace for about 12 years. It was a full body back brace. I remember going to school, and I made the best of it at times. Like I'd walk up and say, hey, to a kid, just, hey, punch me in the stomach, and they would hit it, and it'd be like a hard piece of plastic. So it was funny, but at the same time, like inside, I felt just so dark and so depressed. And at the end of the day, we'll come back to stillness. But what I realized is, number one, like I said, God puts these ailments in your life and my life for a reason. But it was also a manifestation of what was going on inside. My physical body was turning on me, and we see this so often in Americans right now. But so, anyways, my story, wore a metal back brace for over 10 years, had all kinds of just pain, and my story really started elevating when I decided to start taking back control, because doctors put me on on all kinds of painkillers, muscle relaxers. I had multiple procedures done on my back, and they didn't look at why. Like, why do I have severe spinal issues at the age of 13 years old? Like, no one looked at the reason why. They did an X-ray and MRI, and they found problems, but they just treated the symptoms. Here's some giant injections into your spine. Here's some muscle relaxer. Here's a back brace to fucking just keep me from moving, which makes no sense. And so it got to the point where I decided, you know what, I'm going to take control. And I did my first program ever, and I started working out, and it hurt really bad. But because of that, I started getting stronger. I started moving my body more, and I realized, like, holy shit, like I can actually take control of myself. And so that's what got my story going. And then we'll fast forward. I get to college, and I start really studying exercise physiology and nutrition. I get really into it. But then I get into the entrepreneurial space, and I get into email marketing and this idea of building wealth and making money. And I started putting my health on the back burner. I started eating out more. I stopped working out as much. And I always was into health, but I could quickly see my back problems, or the back problems rather, starting to get worse. I could see my body is becoming more inflamed. I would wake up with migraines that would literally stop me from working for 12 to 16 hours. I would lose the entire day. And I was working with some really high-level clients in the email marketing space, and I would lose an entire day, and I would wake up the next morning all stressed, and I had this giant to-do list, and I would work all day to catch up, and then the next day I'd wake up with a migraine again. It was just this vicious cycle that I couldn't get out of, and that was when I really started understanding, again, God, for whatever reason, allowed me to experience severe health issues. I'm very sensitive to stuff. It showed me, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And so that is my story. I realized that's how Wealthy Body was born. I realized that, so many men, including myself, trade their health for wealth.
Yeah, period. So true. And that's so good. And, I'm a strong, devoted Christian, but I have to say there's a quote by Buddha, I believe it is, that is so powerful. And it says that man will go sacrifice his health to gain all of the wealth in the world. Then he'll spend all of his wealth just trying to regain his health. And it's like this constant rat wheel that human beings have been on for so long. Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it goes back to this idea of stillness. I think this is why it's my main value right now. It's what I'm really focusing on. Because if you are not able to go inwards, what I think is happening right now in society is we are escaping. Business for me, that was a big thing for me when I was I was in the email marketing space. I'll be real, I was working a ton, but there are things that I shouldn't and didn't need to be doing that I did just because I was escaping. And so I think that it's number one is kind of escapism, but the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that's happening. And so I think that what's going on is we get into this survival mode of I need to make X amount of money to get by, and once I get X amount of money, or once I'm at a certain place, then I will prioritize blank, usually health.
Right. Once I grind out these 16-hour days for the next several months, build my business, reach $10,000 a month, then I'll start going back to the gym. Right. Then I'll hire the health coach. Then I'll do all that. But then they get to that level, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Right. They fall in love with the idea of freedom.
Yeah.
Where I'm gonna make a certain amount of money, and I'm gonna have this freedom. I'm so excited. And they focus on the dream, but they neglect the process of the dream, and meaning that when it comes to their work, they are so hell bent on how I'm gonna get there that they just forget about stillness, being still and being present with what their needs are right now. They will literally, it's like taking a dog and because the dog likes chocolate, giving it chocolate, it's going to kill the dog. But us as humans, we just push that away because we think that by working on our business, it's going to fulfill our purpose. And it will to a degree. So I understand it, but it's like, are you really doing what's optimal for you and the people around you? And that's the question,
That's so good, man. So let's kind of dive down this rabbit hole a little bit. So you just said something very interesting, and what I heard you say with the dog analogy is as human beings, we want, and we're constantly giving ourselves the work required that we believe will get us in that direction. But in the process of doing so, we're failing to take time to take care of ourselves. We're actually, and also stillness beyond taking care of yourself also gives you a pause to really think through, is this what I should be doing anyways? Yeah. Like, I think that's really important, since meeting you, and me and Justin have a crazy friendship story, and it's like, just over a year ago, we were in Maui together. And, it's interesting when you spend time around somebody that values something, that begins to rub off and influence you. That's why you should be so careful with who you surround yourself in life with. One thing I admired about you was your ability to unplug, to disconnect, to be still with yourself, and then even those you're in proximity to. And this last year's been a journey for me, as you know, of trying to find that rhythm of taking moments to slow down, be still, listen inward. So then what I found, though, is there's a fear. I, as a high performance man, have a fear of, if I stop, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
If I stop, it's going to be taken from me.
Yep.
So I continue to just do, grind. But then I found through friends like you, when I paused and went inward, my external actions became more productive.
Yeah.
So speak to that.
Yeah, there's so much to say about that. And one of the biggest things is money it's important. It's super important. We need money to, I understand, we'll be scaling Wealthy Body to $1 million in revenue this year.
Come on.
And we're going to be doing some big things. But the thing is, my mentality and my motivation for that isn't the money, it's the impact. And so I've worked with men who are making literally hundreds of thousands of dollars passively per month. And they're still worried about money. And it never is actually, and I've worked with men, to be transparent, I've worked with men who are making a safe 5 figures a year. And they're still, it's still this cycle. It's no longer about the money. It's about this level of safety and security that we don't feel like we have. And I think, a great quote is, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Yeah. And that's why I think when it comes to your health, it is so important to make it a priority, because if you can't be still with yourself and listen to what your body needs, how are you going to be able to make high-level business decisions in your life? And I know, for you, Cody, I got to know you very well, and you're big on, you judge people by, I don't know if judge is the right word, but you hold people to high standards based on their heart.
Yeah, that's definitely what I look at. I don't care how much money you make, but, where's your heart right now?
Right, and I think that I keep saying think, I know that if you don't take care of yourself and go inwards and really think about, what does Cody need? What does Justin need? What do we need? Then you can't truly listen to your heart. And that will manifest in business, and it will manifest, and we could go deeper on, there's a lot of childhood trauma, and there's other reasons that might cause that. But if you don't go into yourself, then that will manifest into business, and it will just be this vicious cycle of never actually getting to where you want to be. And that's why there's very few things you can actually control in this world, period. You can't control the market. You can't control the weather. You can't control the traffic outside. But what you can control is the cues your body gives you. You can't even control what the cues your body gives you, but you can control your ability to listen to them. And
then how you respond.
100%. It's that gap. Like Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, talks about, he's a Holocaust survivor. He saw his friends and family members, millions of people die in front of him. And he said that the one thing you can't take away from me is the gap between you causing harm or doing anything bad to me and the way I react. There's this gap that's where I think so many people are missing, is they lose the ability. And I'm right there with them. I've struggled with this most of my life, which I can get into. Yeah. And so once you start really looking in that gap, that's where, whether you make money or not, that's where life starts opening up, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. And it's like, talking about going inward and talking about childhood, right? We hear so much today thrown around childhood trauma, and there is a lot of truth to it, right? I was raised in a home where yelling and screaming and arguing was very common for the form of communication that we had, and therefore modeled in neural pathways formed in my brain to respond in that way because it became normal to me. Then as I grew up and began to really personally develop, since I started at 16 years old. So I've been doing this for 12 years. And the one thing personal development did for me first was it helped me draw awareness to how I behaved, to the habits that I had, the actions that I took. And I realized how out of alignment I was with the guys that I admired. I'm like, whoa, I don't know how to take constructive criticism. I'm super reactive.
Mm.
I'm very defensive. How am I ever going to get better when somebody that cares about me speaks into my life and I'm offended by what they just told me versus saying, wow, they really care about me enough to point out my blind spot.
Yeah.
But there's that gap, right? Between, hey, like, Justin, I've really noticed this in your behavior, man, and I know this isn't conducive with the identity that you want to have with your heart. What's going on here, right? Yeah. But there's that gap of being able to separate, go inward, reflect, learn, pivot, move forward. Yeah. So give us some practical tips on how people can start having more stillness. Let's start there.
Yeah. It's so interesting because one, like what you just mentioned with people, giving you constructive criticism and you pushing it away, the first thing to understand is life is a mirror, period.
Yeah.
Everything that, if I see something in you that pisses me off or that triggers me, it's you are just mirroring back to me something that I already see in myself, but I'm too scared or it's a protective mechanism. Because if we were living out in nature, if we saw something that was wrong with us, like if we make one mistake in nature, our ancestors, they would die. And so for someone to call you out on something that you're doing wrong, it's like, that's a big deal. And your brain is millions of years old. And so the first thing to really understand is life is a mirror. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And recognizing that, if you can see that, then you can look into every single experience and ask yourself, why is this happening for me?
Yeah.
Why is when Cody gives me advice, why am I getting pissed off about it?
Dude, and that's so common, right? Like, I'm sitting here as you saying that, and I'm remembering like scenarios in my life, and everyone listening to this podcast right now, every single one of you have been pissed off by someone's behavior and not liked a quality about them. But if you really dug into that, what you're projecting is nothing more than a reflection of what you're seeing and feeling on the inside. So I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, in two ways that's helped me. I just want to share. For one, it's helped me when I get angry with other people to stop and look inward. And why is this? Because this has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with me.
100%.
But then also, when people hate on me, I'm like, man, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray for you. If you're this angry towards me, what is that really saying about what's going on inward inside of you?
Yeah, it makes life more beautiful because if I see someone getting mad at me, my older self, my former self, and this still comes up because we all have this child or younger version of ourselves that tries to protect us. But if I see someone getting mad at me, I get to be like, wow, like this person's really must be going through something really hard, really difficult. And I get to show empathy and compassion
and empathize with them.
Yeah,
that's powerful. So, okay, so we talked a little bit about that and that reflective in how we feel, but stillness in itself, Justin, give us some wisdom, bro.
Yeah, so
how do we be still, dude? Like we're like we have the phone's beeping every other second.
Yeah.
We want to check our TikTok and see if anybody liked our video. Like it's nonstop. We got another client that just texted us. There's a crisis. There's a fire going on in the company. Mom's texting. She's got a problem. Like, how do we pause through all that?
Yeah. So inside of my coaching program, I talk about this idea of the ROI method. So rewiring your mind, optimizing your body, and then integrating that into your busy lifestyle. And so if I were to give like tactical advice, it would be the first step has to be you start switching your mentality around the things that you're doing. Like everything can be like Garrett J. White talks about the idea of everything in life is a story, and you get to story flip that. So if you're constantly on your phone, a question to ask is like, what am I seeking right now? And like, is this lucrative? Is this valuable for me to be on my phone and switching the story around? Does that make sense? And so I would say the first step would be really getting an idea of what are the stories I'm telling myself around being on my phone a ton. What are my day-to-day actions that I'm doing that are they aligned with my overarching dream? Man, without a dream, it is living a life that is purposeless.
Well, even beyond that, though, I want to, as you're talking about the rewiring the brain, there is a addiction to activity, to phones, because physiologically, if you put scanners up to my brain, if I checked my phone, which is out there for a reason, so I can be present with you, I would get a dopamine hit. Totally. My brain would secrete a chemical that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So there is also an addiction happening in the world. I just, yesterday even, I checked my phone so many times in like 30 minutes for no reason besides the addiction. And then I stopped and I'm like, this is not okay. So I went and I put it in another room for like the next hour and a half.
How did you feel when we did that?
Oh, I felt great. But there was also some fear, dude. Some like, man, I should, what if there's something important and, and an emergency?
Yeah. So tactical advice when it comes to that, I would say we're doing a challenge inside of our program right now where every single day, me and my clients, we're journaling 3 pages a day. And so one of my mentors taught this to me. It's called stream of consciousness journaling, where what you do is I think I've told you about this. You take a journal. And
I've actually been doing it.
How's it been working for you?
Yeah, I haven't done always 3 pages, but I've been trying to journal every day and just let my brain flow with no intention.
Yeah, and so the key that I always say is we need to get the shit out from behind. So our mind is kind of like a pot of boiling water. And if you put water in the pot and you turn the stove on and it starts boiling, and say like it's about to boil over and you don't want it to boil over, you have one of 2 options. You could turn it off, or you can empty the water up. But if it won't turn off, if you can't turn it off, you only have one option. That's to pour the water out. And so the reason we use our phones for the majority, like you said, it's a dopamine. Andrew Huberman talks about this, where when you get a we're chasing this end result. So this is why the mind is so important. Why having like journaling is a tactical advice piece, but like realizing that if you're so hell bent on the actual end result, it is very easy to stop looking at the journey. And when you do that, when you want a result very badly, you'll just keep doing things that are self-sabotaging because you like. There's a reason why you're on your phone, right? You probably wanted to make a sale, or you wanted someone to reach out to you. There's something that was deeper.
Yeah, there's an obsession that I'm chasing.
Right.
We're pushing events right now. We're selling tickets. I want to know everything that's going on.
100%. And so realizing that we are chasing that dopamine spike, and then when we get it, it's like, okay, cool. And then what he talks about is you hit a dopamine threshold, then you drop back down below baseline. And it's this rat race type experience. And that's where money, and no matter how much money you make, that's why a lot of men, like there's guys that are making millions and billions. Like I have clients in my program who are making like 7-8 figures, possibly 9 figures, and they're more depressed than anyone I've known. And so,
wow.
It's insane. And so what I'm trying to say is when it comes to practical advice is realizing that there is the present moment can be painful, but that's the key, is if you can find pleasure in the pain. That's why I'm huge on cold plunge. That's why I'm huge on eating real food. And that's a whole other story, because that will clear your mind and get you to think clear. If you're, Tony Robbins talks about the idea of your physiology creates your psychology. And so if you're not optimizing your body, your mind's going to be all fucked up. And then if your mind's all jacked up and you're not thinking clearly, it's just this vicious cycle, again, feeding that feedback loop. So I'm hoping that makes sense. But
it does. Yeah. It does. So you have the ROI method, right?
Yeah.
There was the rewiring the brain. What was O?
So O is optimize your body.
Optimize your body, which kind of goes into physiological, right? So talk about that. Yeah. How do we optimize our body? Okay, Justin, I'm aware that I need to rewire my brain. You even just gave me some helpful tips on that.
Yeah.
But now I need to optimize my body because my brain can't do it on its own.
Yeah, 100%. And it's all. So I'm big on holistic, right? And so people all the time ask, like, what is holistic health? It's a term that's thrown around a lot, right? And so when I think of holistic health, it is the integration. I'll give you like an example. If you eat sugar, like let me ask you this, Cody, like, do you want to be injured?
No.
No.
Why would I want to be injured?
Yeah, right. But so the reason I ask is if you eat any kind of sugar or junk food, what happens is that will actually turn off intrinsic core muscles in your stomach that actually stabilize your spine. So you could be picking up a backpack or working out. When you eat that food, it turns off the muscles in your stomach, and then it stabilizes your spine, and those are important to keep your body safe. And so you could bend over one time to pick something up and then injure your knee or injure your spine or injure something in your body. And so I say that because everything is very deeply connected. If you're eating junk food, you could possibly injure yourself. You're going to have more joint pain, not feel like you should. And then that will lead to mental fatigue, and then you not getting enough done in your business. And you don't get enough done in your business, you stay up too late. And if you stay up too late, then you're not going to get good quality sleep. And if you don't get good quality sleep, you'll wake up the next morning feeling anxious as shit. And then you wake up feeling anxious as shit, and you're like, what do I do? And you start freaking out. So I say all that because the key with optimizing your body is realizing that there's a constant ebb and flow. There's a cycle. There's a lot of, like, we talked about like eating raw testicles before this as a joke, but like there's so many, polarizing views.
We're going to do another episode and we're going to eat some testicles, guys.
100%. We're going to see how many we can eat in a minute. But like there's so many different views, right? Like the carnivore diet, the vegan diet, what kind of movement should I be doing? And the key to realize is everybody's different. We're all in a different place. And what I see with so many entrepreneurs, I explain this. My mentor Paul Chek talks about the idea of a soggy piece of bread and a burnt piece of toast. Meaning that most entrepreneurial men, so I work with, but ladies as well, we work either work so hard and we just let our body just go to shit, and we just sit all day and just don't take care of it and become a soggy piece of bread. We can't, for men, like this is, I'm very passionate about men taking back control of their life. Stop bullshitting yourself. If you're not in good shape, if you're not taking care of your body, you can't protect your family. You can't provide for your family. You are the world is dependent on you. Yeah. And so if you're a soggy piece of bread, you could be making all the money in the world, but if you can't get on the ground. Like I have a client of mine, Danny, who's lost 72 pounds. I just did an interview with him yesterday. He dropped his A1C from like 8.6 to 4.9. His biggest thing was he couldn't play with his kids. And so he was a soggy piece of bread. and then there's the other side of the coin where a lot of, they've got like this 75 hard and all these intense programs that can really burn you out. Yeah. And so that's the other side of the coin, the burnt piece of toast, where you're just crushing your body, you're working hard in your business, you're just go, which I know me and you can both relate to feeling that.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so.
And then you hit burnout.
Exactly.
And that was a trend I've been on, and I was on, no longer on. And for many years, I would run and sprint really hard to the point of burnout, but I would even be able to push through the mental burnout. Yeah. Like I'm freaking obsessed. Till the point of where the body would physiologically shut down in some way to force me to take a break.
Yeah. And it's not, so we talk about dopamine, right? There's other hormones that men need.
Cortisol levels.
Yes, 100%. Your cortisol levels spike, your testosterone levels go down. You're just, and then again, it's this cycle. So in simple, what I coach my clients on is eating real food, doing real movement, which we could talk about that, but I'm really passionate about sitting under a bench press. That's cool. Like it's beneficial to be strong, but there are, in my opinion, better ways to move your body to be functional and have energy. So real movement, real food, getting good quality sleep, which again, it's not just getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. It's like you get getting off technology, having in Eastern medicine, they talk about being slow to get into the day and slow to end the day. It's like, the biggest thing I always say is like entrepreneurs are modern day hunters. We are like, we've talked about this before. We're modern day warriors. We need to provide, we need to go out and hunt. But the difference is real ancestral hunters would go out, they'd be extremely skilled. They'd go out, they'd kill an animal, bring it back, and then they would have their wealth, which was their food, and they could actually take care of themselves. And they're way more tuned in with nature and God and all. Like that's a whole other conversation in and of itself.
Yeah.
But us now as entrepreneurs, we are. I have experienced this many times where it's like we forget that the hunt never doesn't stop anymore, and so realizing we need to make compensations and corrective ways of living to complement what we're currently doing in life versus burn ourselves out faster even more.
Yeah. So what I'd want to ask you, right? If I was wanting to work with you, I would want to look at you and be like, bro, I want to be a fucking savage and I want to go crush in business and I want to make millions of dollars, provide for my family, protect them. But I also want to be a good husband. Yeah. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good leader in my community, my church. I want to show up for those that mean the most to me. I want to take care of my body and my health so I can walk my kids down the aisle and maybe even see their kids walk down the aisle one day. And I would look at you and say, how do I be the savage that protects and provides for his family, but also the loving family man that also values what's important, that
Yeah.
takes care of himself so he can show up 100%. What would you tell me?
Yeah. And that comes down to I, which is integrate. And so I could tell you, like here's the thing that I always explain to my clients is like, you obviously have motivation. Most people have the motivation. A lot of times people don't take action towards their goals because of a few things. Number one, they don't feel like, even if they either don't know what to do, which is very rare. If I put a gun to your head and said, Cody, get in the best shape of your life, you could probably do it.
Yeah.
And so the problem that I see is it's not so much you don't know what to do, it's you don't know how to do the thing that you already know how to do. And the reason is because, going back to stillness, going back to the mind, is you are self-sabotaging because you don't think you can sustain it in your life long term.
You know, it's interesting. I want to say something that just riffs with that. You talked about how, like, I have motivation, and most people that would describe me and say I'm probably the most motivated guy they know. I'd actually think about that a lot lately, because I don't think I actually have motivation because I have motivation. I think I have reasons.
Yeah.
Because my dad went to prison when I was 3 months old, because I came up watching us get evicted from our homes. All these different things happened. My mentor died. I felt responsible and had a reason to go make him proud, because he spent the last few years of his life mentoring me. But then I see people that have reasons. You got plenty of reasons, bro. You're 350 pounds and you got a daughter, but you're still eating like crap, not taking care of yourself. Why aren't you motivated to go to the gym and eat right, or hire someone like you?
Right.
Then I figured out you lack belief.
Yes.
You don't believe you can do it.
Yeah.
So I think when you got a reason and you believe in yourself, you're then naturally motivated. And when you're not motivated, you develop discipline to do it anyways.
100%. And yeah, it's like an incredible point. And that's why people don't do it. Like you said, it's because they don't believe they can do it. And so that is the first step, is that's where a lot of the rewiring comes in, is you need to make sure that you need to have a big enough, my mentor Paul Chek says, if your dream is big enough, you don't need disaster to make a change. And so having a dream that's worth actually fighting for, someone who's 350 pounds probably doesn't have that, and they don't believe they can do it. And so that's the key with integrating into your life, is understanding that you probably don't believe you can do it because you failed over and over and over again in your life, or you don't think it can actually fit into your lifestyle. So like, I have clients who are, who they make most of their money through networking. Guess what happens at networking? You eat shitty food, you drink tons of alcohol, you stay up super late. So by me saying you need to get healthy is by me saying you're going to lose all your money and go broke.
Yeah.
And so that is a big paradigm shift, where it's what I help my clients do. A big piece of it is actually the performance piece and the lifestyle piece. How do you integrate this into your life to where it actually, like you said, you are a 4-dimensional man. You make time for your health, you make time for your wealth, you make time for your family, and you make time for your purpose and for God. You make time for everything. Yeah. And so that's, if someone came to me and says, Justin, I want to get into the best shape of my life, the first thing we need to do is figure out what's been stopping you. What stories are you telling yourself that is stopping you from actually doing this? And then from there, we need to set up your lifestyle in a way where, like, I had a coach of mine once ask me, I was struggling in business, and I was very passionate about helping people, but I didn't really know how to really create what we have now, Wealthy Body, help hundreds of men. And he said a question to me. He said, Justin, if money didn't matter, if you could just give me the brain and I'll figure out all the logistics for you, all I want you to just be creative. What would you create? And it just opened up my eyes to be like, wow, like I can think bigger. And I say that because people don't believe that they can actually shift their lifestyle into a way that is that balance. They just write it off. And so the first thing I would say is we need to set up your day in a way that is actually going to be something that you can love. I did a call with my clients Thursday, and we talked about, for 2023, the theme is, how can we fall in love with the things that we either don't like doing or have told ourselves we don't like doing, that we know will help us reach our goals. I'm going to be blunt here. Fuck goals. Like set goals, but focus on habits. Habits are the key. And then once you start focusing on habits, then you'll realize, I'm not doing them. Why is that? And then you can start really dialing in and falling in love with the process. Once you fall in love with the process, you become the man you need to become to reach the goals. People don't stick to this because any fat person, to be blunt, can follow a healthy person plan, period. But the key is, how can I actually become healthy? No matter how I look and feel, how do I become that version of myself? So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, no, it's so good. Like the value of being able to integrate that. What was going through my mind is why do so many people fail? Because you know, we just hit New Year's, right?
Yeah.
It's January and right now, and we're a week into the new year, and so many people have all these goals and all these ambitions. You know, February, March, most of them won't be doing the habits that create the desired outcome that they have. And you know, in diving into high performance habits, one of the things that I learned is, like you said, how do I set up my environment, my ecosystem around me to be conducive with the habits that I'm trying to form?
Yes.
And so I would personally say that's one of the biggest mistakes people make.
Yeah.
Well, for one, they don't get the right wisdom. But then two, they don't actually create an environment that allows them to achieve the goal.
Right.
And then I also would say, and we had someone on the show a few episodes ago who talked about how, like, what we digest, our input, creates our belief system, which creates our habits, which creates our actions, which creates our outcomes, right? So what would you speak to into somebody setting themselves up for success this year with hitting that goal? Let's just go with what you're in the lane in. You have a lot of high performing business guys. They want to lose a lot of weight. They want to be healthier, have more energy, be able to show up better as a husband and as a father. You know, what advice are you giving to the environment to make sure, you know, you could tell them, hey, do X, Y, and Z. But what bumpers are you putting around X, Y, and Z to help them be successful? Or how can someone set that up for themselves?
Yeah. The first quote that comes to my mind is, you are a product of the people you know, the places you go, and the mindset you grow. And so my suggestion for someone like that is number one, you have to change your mindset. You have to decide that this is no longer a want, this is a must. I have to do this, period. And I'm not doing it because it's fucking January 1st. I'm doing it because the trajectory of my life is not aligned with why I'm on this planet. So I need to change that, period. And I don't plan on changing that for the next week, for the next month. This is who I am forever. And that's it. This health journey is too hard. This business journey is too hard. You're not going to be successful if you need to be somewhere quick. You can get results quick, and funny enough, you'll get them quicker when you switch to this mindset. And so switching the mindset, getting around people. It's like, that's the number one reason why guys in my program are successful, is we have a group of high level men who we have in-person retreats every 3 months. We are super engaged in our community online. It's being around men who, like, I remember when last year around this time in February, I was on an island in Panama. I lived on an island for 8 days. It was cool.
When he says lived on an island, it's not like Panama 5-star resort, guys.
Yeah, I was literally, we were taught survival skills, and we were given for 3 days. We at a period where we had nothing. We had to create our own fire out of a bow drill, and it that's a whole nother story. It was insane. But like, what I found was, afterwards, when we got back from the land we were staying on, a lot of the people that were there were very unhealthy, and they were, drinking Coca-Colas, and there was a bunch of junk food, and I could actually feel myself being like, you know what, I'll just have a Coke. And I hadn't had Coke in 10 years. I didn't have one, thankfully, but I could feel this part of me just like, I'll just have one. It's not a big deal. And so we, as human beings, we are so influenced by people around us. Why? Because it's survival. If you are kicked out of the tribe, you're dead. And so realizing that it is so important to get around like if you are watching this and you're a husband and you have a wife, she needs to support you. Get on like we talk about having a dream, but also having a dream team, people who are supporting your journey. So the people you go and the places you go, like, think about, where am I going right now? Like, if you're trying to stop drinking alcohol, you probably should stop going to the bars. Like,
I quit drinking 2 years ago. Don't step foot in bars. Don't go to clubs. Don't do any of that. And then it's interesting how I started to influence the culture of others around me. When we go out to eat, it's like, so many of my friends that like do drink, like, don't drink when they're with me.
Yes.
Not that I'm like, I care. It's just like, I've then influenced that culture, but I had to become confident in the identity.
Yes. Yes.
I remember the first time I went to this like 5-star luxury, like, resort hotel, and we were waiting for a table at this restaurant. And, you go to the bar sometimes to like kill time. And I remember the bartender like coming up, oh, what do you want to drink? And I'm like, oh, I'll just take a water, and feeling like I wasn't part of the tribe. Yeah. Like, the look, the facial expression, the body language, oh, okay, I'll get you a water. Like I did something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's hard, right? 'Cause again, it gives you this sense of it tells your ego like you're gonna die. And so, like, I think it was an amazing point is we say in Wealthy Body, I have a wristband I wear. You can see that it says lead by example. And so that is the key is, and it's hard at first because you don't see it happening. But I have a client of mine who I taught him how to do Tai Chi, and he's a real estate agent. He's got a team around him. And like within 6 months in the program, his whole team was doing it. When I was in Panama, did my Tai Chi every morning, and on day 3, I had 4 or 5 people come out and do it with me. It's so the thing to realize is a lot of people have this fear that if they go against the grain, and it's funny because entrepreneurs are already going against the grain in their business, but they struggle to put that same mindset into health. And so realizing that it's all about the story. It's all about the story and realizing that if you make this change for yourself, that other people will start to embody it as well, because they have if it's all about frame. It's the story frame. It's like if you have a stronger frame and you decide this is what was best for me, humans are energy, and we are attracted to high level energy. And the only way that you can be around high level people, that's awesome. And that's why I run a coaching program, because it gives you that opportunity. But also for the viewers watching this, realize that you are a beacon of light for the people around you. And so when you can have that mindset and you realize that the health, my weight loss goal, it's not about losing fucking 20 pounds or 40 pounds. It's about how can I be a beacon of light? How can I lead by example for everyone around me? And when you start doing that, that's when just stuff starts shifting like crazy.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, there's another direction I want to go before we wrap up here. Cool. And, you serve men. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you to be a man?
That's a great question. So what I would say for me, to be a man is to stop. I won't say stop. Start living in truth. I'd say start living in truth. And what I mean by that is, obviously, men are physiologically different than women.
Right.
We are stronger. We are more logical. Not to compare, but that's how we're wired, right? We do better with structure. Women are they go with the flow. They're more loving, more feminine. I think being a man means having masculine energy. And so I think the fastest way to kill your masculine energy is to bullshit yourself. And so one of the topics that I'm very passionate about right now is, can you go look yourself in the mirror and be proud of the man that's looking back? I think that is what makes, there's so many directions I could go with it, but just to be simple, I think that is what makes a man. If you can look yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you're doing, who you're becoming, that's a man. A man is someone who can lead. A man is someone who takes care of themselves for the bigger purpose of taking care of others.
Yeah. A
man has purpose. And
that's deep.
I think that if you can't take care of you, then what better purpose is there to take care of the body that God blessed you with,
Yeah.
So I think that being a man is having a healthy integrated balance of masculine and feminine energy, because there is an imbalance to that. You can be very masculine and just do a bunch of steroids and just like go hard all the time. It's like a man is someone who can this is a good way of saying it as well. A true man is somebody who can experience emotions, experience them, but not let them control who he is, not let them control what he does.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Thank you.
Do you think that men are being men today?
No.
Why?
I mean, you can scientifically, I'm not huge on science. I've studied tons of science, and I honestly think the science is underplaying this, but if you look at the science, men's testosterone level have dropped 1% every year for the past 30 years. So like to be blunt, grandfathers have higher testosterone than, like, I've worked with clients who are 20 years old and can't get erections. Like, our hormones are under attack. So on a physiological level, no. On a mental level, I think even men who are crushing it in business, again, if you can't take care of, and the other side too, but if you can't take care of your body, you're willing to sacrifice. You're a liability, is what you are. Same thing, other side. If you are crushing your health and you are just in your feminine, if you will, and just only care about his health, and you're just like, oh, I'll make money, this will be good. Kind of the new age we talked about. You're just kind of hippy dippy, just running around. That's also a problem. And so just go to a fucking airport. Just walk in an airport and you can just look at men and like most men, the obesity rate and overweight rate in America is I believe it's 83%. Most men have bigger boobs than women. That's a problem.
That's a problem. That's a big problem, guys.
We can't protect our families. We can't move our bodies. We can't play with our kids. We can't do anything. And I think that is a severe issue, and you don't have to sacrifice one thing for the other. And at the end of the day, going back to stillness, if your body looks like shit, if you're out of shape, if you are slow, if you have low energy, it is a physical manifestation of something going on internally. And that's why I think a real man is someone who can actually process and experience and feel his emotions and let that out without letting it control his actions. Because like you said before, a thought leads to an emotion, which is energy and motion, which leads to actions, which leads to a result. Most men don't have a profit problem in their life, meaning money, wealth, body, relationships. They have a performance problem. They're not able to perform. Why can't they perform? Because their inner power is not in a place where it needs to be. So their thoughts and their beliefs and their emotions are sabotaging them consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah. No, I agree so much, man. I think that it's sad where the world is right now. You know, and Stefan Arnio wrote a book called Hard Times, Create Strong Men.
Yeah.
Great book. And raw book, you know, and he talks about how in the past, these hard times inevitably created men to be hard, maybe a little more burnt toast than they needed to be. But those hard men created good times.
Yeah.
We're definitely, especially in the United States, living in good times, or we were. We're still in the tail end of that. And those good times have now created weak men.
Yeah.
Why is our testosterone going down? Men aren't using it. Yeah. Men are putting things into their body that's also lowering it, and they're being less masculine, less what men were designed to do, and more passive.
Yeah.
And now it's going down, and now because we have weak men, we're creating hard times again. There's all these issues going on around the world, and I believe that men have always led. We have led, and women have too. Ladies, I'm not discounting that. Behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah.
100% know that. Yeah. Greater woman. But there's a way that God designed us. And when God created Adam and he pulled out of his rib and handcrafted Eve, she was a helpmate for Adam. He knew that it wasn't good for man to be alone. He knew that they were designed to be together, but he also knew that Eve needed to be under the spiritual covering of Adam, also the physiological covering. But so it's interesting you say this, and I think what could happen is there's some guys that hear this, and maybe you guys don't like this, but that's the whole point of this podcast is we want to talk about things most people won't talk about. Yep. And a lot of guys will go, I just got to work out more. You know, more bench press, you know, and like go out and get my tee up, shoot some steroids, you know, but that's not the answer.
No.
And there's working out the right way, but there's also working in. Yes. And you taught me that. Yeah. Can you speak to how we also must work in before we can work out?
Yes. So I teach in my program a 4 doctors principle, meaning that a lot of times we go to the external doctors to get support. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to a doctor, but I think it's very important to go internal first. How can I seek my internal doctors? And so the 3 smaller doctors, if you will, are Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, and Dr. Diet, meaning that eating real food, moving your body, and we'll get into that in a second, how you should move your body, and then sleep, introspection, meditation, taking time for yourself. And then the last doctor, which is the chief physician, is Dr. Happiness. And so 2 big points I want to make. Number 1 is being a man doesn't mean fucking, cutting down trees and lifting up cars. I mean, that's cool. I love doing that. I'll go do archery. There's things that we'll do masculine stuff. We should all do that, fighting, stuff like that. But it's also just being able to let go. Because again, going back to stress levels, if you're not able to, like at our retreats that you're at, it's like we play. We let our inner child come out, and that's a big piece. If you're not able to play and enjoy life. Like, we're not on this planet to struggle all the time. Struggle is a part of being a human being, but it's also it's a man-made creation. We create a lot of the internal struggle that we have. And so I say that because I like to start with the mind always before we go into the physical body. And so the mind, playing, enjoying, letting this shit just go, breathing properly. I wear a necklace now. If anyone, not sponsored by them yet, but it's literally, you put it in your mouth, and it slows down your breath. Most people, I keep saying men, but most people in general don't breathe properly. They breathe through their chest, they breathe through their mouth. They're putting themselves in a stressful situation. So if I could give the most practical step, start slowing down your breath. Start calming down. Working out. Working out is great, but if you are like, listen to your body is the biggest advice I can give, because whatever diet or workout plan you're doing, your body is always speaking to you. It's always saying, Cody, slow down. Cody, speed up. Cody, I want more food. I want less food. Like, it is speaking to you. I'm big on, like, connecting with your soul, connecting with your intuition, which that's a whole other conversation with God and all that stuff. But it's like, you have wisdom inside of you. I have wisdom inside of me that is ancient and that is able to be tapped into. But because we're going so hard all the time, we've lost that. That. So working in, I talk about, doing exercises that are actually going to cultivate energy versus just
like Tai Chi,
like zone exercise, even going to the gym and doing what you would normally do, but just slowing down, not going as hard, moving your body, doing primal movements, like getting on the floor and crawling around, just doing fun stuff, doing a bench press, but going slow. Inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds. And that will still be challenging, but it will slow down the nervous system, because what the biggest problem going on right now is we're just wired up. Everyone is so wired up from the dopamine, from the phones, from the business. And then what we do is, because our adrenals are failing us because we're so wired up, we actually get to the point where we're tired. And then we'll drink caffeine because we're so tired and we're so burnt out. We can't stop hunting. So then caffeine comes in the picture, and then it burns you out even more. And then it's just this big vicious cycle. So my recommendation is, it's going to sound cheesy, but we have to find a rhythm of balance. Finding a way where you can't be perfect all the time, but that's the beauty of this journey. Like with business, like, let me ask you, Cody, like, are you always making a ton of money in your business, or are there ebbs and flows?
There's ebbs and flows for sure. And with my energy levels and all of that.
Right.
And I'm learning how to structure my life around it too.
Yeah.
And how to be okay with it, how to surrender. How, it's interesting. Like, I'm a big fan of the afternoon nap.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to less caffeine, less push through, more, okay, body, what do you need? 1 to 3 p.m. We're not on it. You know what I mean? We ate lunch. Our body wants to digest. We're a little more tired. We're fatigued. I wake up, 5:30 a.m. every day. We're hitting that crash.
Yeah.
Let it rest. Yeah. I found out I don't need the espresso or the cup of coffee or the Celsius in the afternoon. I need a nap.
Yeah.
For at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I get up and it's like I got a second morning.
Yeah.
And then it's like, boom. Then we go again for a few more hours and then we're done.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful part. I mean, there's science behind that as well, but that's the beautiful part about that, is when you listen to your body and you listen to what the cues it's giving you, you can have like that. I always say to my clients, if you're listening to this, I hope that if there's nothing else that's gotten through to you, it's like, energy is income. There's nothing more valuable in your life than your ability to be energized, to feel vitalized, and realizing that coffee gives you an illusion of energy.
Yeah.
Coffee gives you an illusion of energy. Money gives you an illusion of safety. Being able to go inwards and listen to what your body signals are telling you, and listen to what you actually need, is true energy, because you don't need to rely on an external substance. You have everything you need right now.
That's so good.
And I wish every man knew that, because it would give you so much. I wish I knew that 5 years ago. It's like, it empowers you to realize that you don't need to always seek. Seeking is good. We should always be striving for growth. That's a part of being a human being. But also realize that you are complete, you are whole right now. Like you always say, God made you perfect the way you are.
Yeah. He gave us everything we need. Well, we got to wrap up here. And the last thing that I want to ask you is, what are you focusing on this year?
Yeah. Great question. And it's kind of going back to my core value. My focus this year is stillness. I wake up every morning, 5 a.m., meditate for an hour. and just be with myself. And so I think that's very powerful for what I'm creating this year. Is we're really diving into our retreats inside a Wealthy Body, which are incredible. You've been to one of them.
Yeah, amazing.
It gives men a chance to be around other.
First time I was off my phone for 3 days in a long time.
I saw a shift in you, man. It was just like you went from this like you're very high power, like even intimidating, some might say, when you're in the room. And I saw you just like your nervous system just like down level, and I was like, oh my God, that's the Cody I know.
I was just like flowing.
Yeah. And so my focus this year is honestly spreading this message of there's like 3 main messages I really want to spread. Number 1 is stop trading health for wealth. Take care of your body. Take care of your health. Number 2 is just stop fucking lying. So many men are lying right now. They lie to their family. They lie to their friends. They lie to their employees. And most importantly, they lie to themselves. And so and this is something, I'm always working on myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying this from a stance of like, I'm God and you're not. Like, this is my focus as well. Is I think that if we can get closer and closer and peel back the onions of truth, that's where real success happens. So stop lying, take care of your body, and ultimately find peace in the pain.
So good.
Just find peace in the pain.
Yeah. How can people connect with you?
Yeah. Hit me up on Instagram. It's at thejustinfeldman.com. You can check out my website. If you want to learn more about coaching, it's wealthybodyacademy.com. And then if you want to come to one of our retreats, wealthybodyretreat.com.
Let's go. I like it. Simple scales.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast episode with Justin. Hope you guys got just as much value out of it as I did, and just want to encourage you guys to make sure you're working in, not just working out. Go make today great.